P.G.I.A. on Saturday morning, the presence of police, an empty tarmac, and long lines of passengers greeted us. News of the stickout by air traffic controllers traveled like wildfire. Some at the P.G.I.A. thought it was a strike. Travelers didn't know if flights were going to be able to land that day or if they would be able to depart as scheduled. One thing was for sure, the cancelled flight and delays were costing money and time.
Some people said it's some kind of strike, and
And so what you're going to do, you're just going to wait out today?
I have to wait because I got information from inside. They said that the flight have to fly to Honduras, then they might return back by 10:30. You know, it's right. Because
so
I have to wait.
Left and it's going to come back.
Yeah, because if I go back, then I have to return back to Belize, and then it's wasting time and money.
We came to catch a straight flight, but we understand that the tower, people have closed down the tower. I don't know what happened.
So what time was your flight supposed to leave?
9:45.
I could imagine that it's very inconvenient for you.
It is, because you know I got a doctor appointment in LA, so.
And with people waiting for hours and not much information provided by the Civil Aviation Department, military presence was beefed up upon accessing the airport. Vehicles were being stopped and drivers questioned briefly. Police were called out to just ensure that order and peace were maintained.
Well, we were called out here, you know, and came here and see what the situation is, you know, as a part of protection of, you know, law and order, protection of property. We are out here to see that everything's okay.
How many officers out here today?
From the LADYVILLE formation, we have about 8 officers.
So why was Belize not accessible by flight at the only international airport at the peak of the tourist season? Well, the people who man the tower and direct aircraft on the ground and the airspace to prevent collisions, organize and expedite the flow of traffic called in sick. Travelers were not happy campers that day. Matthew Miller arrived at the airport at 6:30 in the morning. He concluded that the voice of the controllers was felt. Not in the best way, but it was felt.
So we're waiting to see if our students will be able to arrive. In the meantime, we've contacted the school from which they came from in California, and they've notified all the parents, so at least we have good lines of communication open, because a lot of people are concerned about their kids, you know, going to Honduras instead of landing here. It sounds like a labor dispute. And it seems that other airport employees are supportive of the strike because they feel like they deserve better wages. It's because it's going to affect a lot of people today and over the weekend if they can't resolve it. And there'll be a lot of tourism resorts and whatnot impacted as well. So I'm sure the air traffic controller's voice is being heard now.
I have to get back to work. Other people here have to get back to their jobs. So it bothers me that a handful of people can have that kind of control over everyone's life. And it should not be allowed that people in such a critical position can be allowed to strike. They should lose their jobs, in my opinion.
For seasoned tourism partners, the focus was on the guests. For guests, this is the last experience and impression they have of Belize before they get on a plane. Today wasn't a good one for most traveling on the early flights.
Disappointing. Everything else was fine. We had a great time in Belize, but now it'll end up costing another 1 or 2 flights to get from Houston back to Ontario.
So this also the cost, time and money.
Well, it costs the company more, right? Because then they have to pay me more to the up and down. Well, we have to see what happened to our guests, them, right? Because I guess it's important to us. Right, so if they cannot fly out, we got to take them back either to the Radisson or take them back to the island and bring them tomorrow, wherever they open the airport.
So definitely a lot of planning on your end.
Well, on my end, it's very hard for this morning, especially that I have about 30 odd guests to deal with.
So definitely, you think this is a bad look for the tourism industry?
Well, it's very bad for the tourism industry because the guests are saying, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Man, I cannot do nothing."
Just a few minutes to midday, the Delta flight that was redirected to Honduras landed in Belize, almost 5 hours after its scheduled arrival time. Visitors were in a hurry to get to their destinations. Warren Anderson was on the flight with a group of teens. They were just excited to be in Belize.
We were circling around Belize City for, I don't know, about 45 minutes, I guess. And the pilot kept us informed, and we ended up taking off and going to San Pedro in Honduras. And we were there for maybe a couple hours, I guess.
Were you guys concerned? I mean, you have a big group.
Well, you know, kids are pretty flexible. A lot of these kids come from outside of the United States, so they've done a lot of traveling, and everybody was very cool. There was no panic on the flight. The pilots and the flight attendants kept us well informed, and everybody was very confident. So we just looked upon it as an additional adventure.
Reporting for News 5.